Yay. Okay. So I am Leah Murray. I am the executive director of the Shelton McMurphy Johnson House. I am also the board chair of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, among all the other hats I wear. So I'm gonna go on the screen as I see you. So Michael, you're next.
I tell you when I'm Michael Cunningham. I'm Leah's. I'm the vice chair of the downtown association.
Suzanne.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Taylor. I'm on the steering committee and I live in downtown on Broadway.
Noah.
I'm Noah Brunell. I'm the secretary. I have no other hats that are of interest to this group. I live downtown on Broadway also.
Cindy.
Hello, I am Cindy Koehler. I am staff with the City of Eugene in the Office of Equity and Community Engagement.
Tim.
Hi, everyone. Tim Morris, he, him pronouns. I am a steering committee member of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, amongst many, many hats that I promise I will not list off.
And you also live downtown, Tim?
Oh, I surely do. I could throw a rock and hit 13th and Olive right now. So yes, very much so.
And you're the one hat that is relevant.
Steering committee member?
No, SIDA.
Oh, I'm the executive director of the Springfield Eugene Tenant Association.
Yes, that was the one I wanted. All right, Councilor Semple.
Thank you. I'm Councilor Semple for Ward 1. Downtown is in Ward 1. I work downtown and I live the other side of the street from DNA on Broadway.
All right, Mayor Vinus, take it away.
Lucy Vinus, Mayor of Eugene, and very delighted to be with you tonight. So I want to thank Michael for inviting me. So I'm not entirely sure what your hopes and dreams are here. I clearly know that you want to talk about budget, but you also have a couple of other people who can do that. I can give a couple of quick updates and then you can pepper me with questions or if that works for you. So the first big breaking news, of course, is Monday night that the council passed a budget. So that's really big, important news. And Cindy and Emily can speak to that more. But I would just say that this was an arduous process for the city staff that really began a year ago and precipitated, or maybe inspired, I would say better, a kind of reorganization within the city structure. So with an idea that not only did we have to cut programs, but we just there's some things that might work better if they were more combined and we had different processes. So, one of those is this idea, this sort of concept of a command structure, which applies to downtown because there's a downtown team. Now it applies to our homeless work. There's a, sort of command structure for our homeless work. So that's a pretty critical, going forward, that's a concept around making sure that the combination of the different departments and the different teams that are working in a specific area, and downtown being one of them, are well coordinated, and that there's a person at the top who is actually overseeing those day-to-day operations and addressing things and realizing and allocating resources appropriately, staff or other resources appropriately. So we do have high hopes for that. But I would say that the budget combination and that kind of reorganization thinking kind of all happened concurrently. And part of that, I think, being the city manager going, oh, we can't just slice. We're not going to get there. The gap is too big. We can't just slice. We have to think things through a little bit differently. And so the other piece that's relevant to that reorganization is that we now have 2 assistant city managers instead of 1. So Christy Hammett overseeing fire and library, recreation and cultural services, and Matt Rodriguez overseeing public works and planning and development, and then police and now Twyla, and finance works directly under Sarah, so that she has direct control, and so do police. So that also, I think that there's some structural pieces there that I think will be satisfying to staff, and hopefully I think streamline some delivery of services. So that was a big outtake, but other people can talk about dollar amounts. I think structurally sort of recognizing that a lot of work was done to sort of rethink, and that work goes on. So this concept of priority-based budgeting, the departments didn't quite finish doing all of that work. It turned out to be sort of larger and more complex. And so that is still going on in this budget has been adopted, but this coming year, all the teams will still be working on that, looking at their specific programs, looking at what is the return on investment? Are we putting too many resources here and not enough resources there is the way that we want to shift it. So lots of, I think, really admirable work happening in the city, and Cindy is the only one here as a staff member, but she can carry the applause for everybody, receive the applause for everyone, because really, and so everybody's a little unhappy because all the budgets got cut. And we had a $15 million ongoing hole and a $5 million one-time hole with things, particularly homelessness, that we had used one-time funds to, and we don't have another source. And we've just come out of the legislative session, and we did not get that hole filled at the legislature, which we had hoped. So particularly for homeless, we had an ask of $7.5 million of the legislature, and it just died because of all of the things that happened in the legislature. Just didn't get through the process. So, and that, of course, is immediately relevant to all of you downtown, because any constriction in our capacity to respond to people who are unsheltered has an immediate impact on your neighborhood streets. So we're hoping that that kind of incident command structure, where there's a downtown commander, will help, at least at that end. And I guess the thing that I didn't mention about that is that includes a partnership with Lane County to provide mental health professionals. So the county now will be on the streets with those teams. And so those folks that you all know, we all know downtown, that are just not of sound mind and creating a sense of unsafety and unpredictability downtown, but actually to have mental health professional really on site walking the streets with those teams and coordinate with those teams will make a huge difference. And I am hoping, not knowing for certain, Emily may know more, I am hoping from my conversations with Chief Skinner that will also have some positive impact on the library, which has been pretty hard hit from the fact that it's essentially become a day shelter for so many folks, and very hard to manage. So I know that Chief Skinner is wanting to sort of tighten up what that arrangement is with the private security system there, maybe professionalize that a little bit more to the extent that he can, and pull that in. So that's a long rambling thing around budget and priorities. Yeah.
So I know that Cahoots has been moved into a different department as well.
Right. Yes.
Are we hoping that's going to streamline that response as well?
Yes, yes. So several things involved there. So the first thing is that, Cahoots has, they have struggled to have enough personnel. And so they've had a hard time responding. And also we recognize that we did the city this past year invested in an alternative response study to look at the whole constellation of alternatives response. So that's Cahoots, but it's also our neighborhood service officers. I mean, it's park ambassadors. It's all the whole constellation of personnel that we've targeted to different areas and concerns. And so recognizing that we should look at that as a whole and see Cahoots as part of that. And then one of the recognitions was that Cahoots really is part of it's really part of our sort of emergency medical system. I mean, it's part of it's not really a public safety response. It's really a public health response. Mm-hmm. And so it belongs in fire, right? Those teams they related to that dispatch. I have interestingly, went to the U.S. Conference of Mayors just a month ago, and I was chatting about this because we're a model, right? So cities all over the country when I go to those conferences, they're all saying, oh yeah, and Eugene, and you started Cahoots. And I had said to some, and it's over 30 years old now, and we're kind of recalibrating it a little bit, and we're moving it out of our police to a police contract to a fire contract. And several cities said, oh yeah, we followed your model. We wanted to have a Cahoots like program, but we put it originally, we initiated it within our fire department. So I think there's a sort of a sense generally. Then, the big fun news of the day is that we now own what used to be the eWeb headquarters. So we actually, my gosh, right after, this is what they tore down City Hall in 2012, I think. So more than 10 years of the city scrambling around trying to figure out, where are we building here? And when we moved into the LCC Mary Spildy building, we thought we'd be there permanently. So I think, again, it's kudos to the city manager for landing this one and for having a good relationship with eWeb. And I think it's a credit to the city's investments in that riverfront, that the downtown riverfront park, and then the emerging residential neighborhood in the riverfront, it just sort of I think it just pulls it all together. I see that eWeb building as kind of an elbow, right? We kind of bend, we kind of come to the river, and we sort of bend along the river. And so that's very exciting. And our lease is up at the end of this year. So the expectation is that the first teams will move over there early in 2024. So that will be the city manager's office, finance, the folks that are on the 4th floor in the library. Cindy, I'm assuming that your group is your group is moving. You're part of that initial move. Yeah. So it won't be there won't be a whoosh that everybody goes out there. It'll be a smaller group and a much slower transition.
So when is your office going to move, Mayor?
Mine will go in that first round, as will the councilors, because we all come within the umbrella of the city manager's office. And so we'll all go in that first round. And then I don't know how long it will take for the council chambers to be completed. The bad news is we just built those beautiful chambers in the Mary Spildy building. The good news is we just built those chambers in the Mary Spildy building, and we actually know how to do it. So, we'll just do it again. But I don't know how quickly that they'll go into the north, what have been those public meeting rooms, that north building. And I don't know exactly how long that will take.
So the atrium, the
atrium, ultimately the folks in the atrium will also move, but I don't know how soon they'll move. And the council really just approved, as the urban renewal agency, just approved an expanded spending limit on the downtown urban renewal district. So adding $50 million to that, and lasting potentially 19 years or so. And the focus of council has been on housing, that we need housing downtown. So that atrium building, I don't know whether it would be renovated or whether it could be torn down and replaced or something, but that spot will be built on. And I think that, we see that as an asset. So in the conversations around downtown, there were a lot of conversations about repurposing existing buildings. And so whether the atrium can it's been repurposed before, can it be repurposed one more time, and maybe some stories added on top that would be more apartments? But that would be the goal. The goal is gradually, right, to fill in as much housing opportunities as we can in the downtown. So that is a prime location for that to happen. And hopefully we've had to extend the timeline on the 1059 building, the former LCC building, because it's just been so slow for those investors, those developers, to get their financing together because of the cost of construction. So that's been, a disappointingly slow, right? Council approved that about, I don't know, Emily might remember, it seems like it's almost 2 years ago. It feels like it was maybe the spring of 21 that we were talking about that.
Yeah, it was spring.
I don't
Could be
think it was
that.
last-
That's been
I-
a long time.
I don't think it was last year. I think it might have
No.
been during the year before.
Because when we were talking about giving money, it wasn't this year, it was the
Yeah.
year before.
Yeah. So, so hopefully that will fall into place, because that's a really good project. Also, it'd be really great to see that, very unattractive derelict building go away and something better in its place.
Yeah, I agree, Mayor Vinus. We definitely need housing.
Yeah, we definitely need housing. And then I'll just say, because Emily and I are just probably both reeling from exhaustion after the day's meeting, we are laboriously working our way through the renters protection phase 2. And I thought we would finish today, and then the subsequent rounds and the speech making and everything else. So I don't know. So I'm going to own this, that it took too long today, and it's my fault because I didn't rein people in enough, but there you go. So we will, Sarah and I just looked at the calendar. We have to go back and do the last few pieces of those renter protections. What took us so long today is we're looking at a relocation assistance for no cause evictions. And so we have defined the sort of triggering events that would trigger the requirement for a landlord to provide relocation assistance. And we've agreed on the amount of that relocation assistance to match what the state has done. But we were working our way through 12 exemptions for landlords for whom those triggers wouldn't apply. And those were all in the initial draft, and it has just taken us a long time to sort through those exemptions. And so I think we're very close to the end now, but we have a few more to go. And there's a lot of heartburn over this, wanting very much to protect tenants who are very vulnerable. I don't need to say that to Tim, who knows it better than anybody else, how deep the problem is. And and the challenge of all landlords are not created equal. There are plenty of good ones, but there are plenty of bad ones. How do you come up with a policy that really targets the folks who are abusing the system and doesn't unnecessarily penalize people who are doing a perfectly good job? So the council struggled over that, but we'll get there. And I'm hoping that we'll get there. I think this is hot off the press, so it's not even in the tentative agenda yet, but I'm hoping we'll get there in a meeting on July 12th. And council has the option, and Alan Zelenka has proposed taking it back out to a public hearing. I will tell you, I am not in favor of taking it out for another public hearing. I think we've done this work based on the hearing that we already had, and we don't need to do that again. And if we take it to a public hearing, it means we wouldn't be able to do that until September. So it would delay the effective date. And I don't think we should be delaying it this time of year. So, but that's where we are. So that's the road we're navigating. And what else? What else is of burning interest to you guys?
What does your time look like?
I'm fine.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Mayor Vinus, it's Michael. From the city's part of the new baseball stadium. I don't know if we approved the new stadium for city-wise, or what's the money looking for, like for the Emeralds, for the from the our point from the city, what's that looking like, Mayor Vinus?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. So a couple of things. This is actually not, there has been no formal request made of the city or of the council to include this in our budget. So it hasn't been on our agenda. It has been bandied about that the city would contribute, but there has been no actual request for a specific, and this did not figure into our budget discussions. And as I've just said, we have a $15 million hole plus a $5 million hole. So, so we don't have the money. Let's just say that. The other side of this is that, that I should have mentioned is that we are, the council has directed the city manager to create a revenue committee. And it's that the final meeting on that has been pushed back because it's taken us so long to work on the renters protection. But the goal will be to establish a revenue committee to look, presumably, I mean, the final structure has not sort of been agreed to by council, but the idea originated with our need to fund homelessness and to fund our climate work. The city staff, the manager and finance director are suggesting that we should have a sort of a broader look because we have these ongoing holes. We know we're going to have another $8.3 million hole in the second year of the biennium. We anticipate for the future that we will continue to have this fairly deep hole in our budget. And so we sort of need to look broadly at both revenue that we need in the kind of immediate term, and then revenue that we need to be assured is sustainable over time. So the city manager has sort of folded that M's conversation as we talk about revenue. We can fold that in so we're not sort of closing the door on whether we have money for the M's, but I will just, you know, honestly, the city does not have $15 million to put towards an M stadium. And I don't know where we would come up with that money. So, but there could be a longer term agreement. There could be something else. So it's hard. We all want the M's to stay.
We all do it. It's a great baseball stadium, especially for the public. People go out to support the team, food and everything else. We need to save our baseball team.
Yep, I'm totally with you. I'm a total champion of the M's, and I want them to stay here. They're incredible.
So do I. They're great
partners.
Great ball club and great organization.
Yep,
we need them to stay.
They are a great organization, and it's just you know, they're building on the fairgrounds. I mean, it's just we just don't know where the money's going to come from, Michael. It's not that we don't want to. We just don't know where the money is.
But that would suck for them to leave. It
would be awful.
I want them to stay.
It would be awful. It would be awful. But yeah.
But there would be a lot of upset people if the M's get told to move. There's gonna be a lot of upset baseball fans.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, in defense of our community on this has happened to us. We didn't create this crisis, right? I mean, this is a national baseball decision. And you could argue whether whether they're being ridiculous, right?
Yeah, I think they are.
Put this sort of onus on a community that you have to have a bigger stadium and it has to have, you know, I mean, that's really
without them contributing.
Mentally, I object, but you know, there you go.
So Noah has a question.
Yeah, I would, or a concern, I would say. The city's moving its offices to the old e-website, and I think that looks like a great office building. From a city hall perspective, it feels a little bit like you are hiding from the city. I realize that it's a decision that's been made, but I'd like to advocate that attention be paid to making sure that it feels inviting, and in particular to people without automobiles. Right now, even though City Hall is sort of splattered over downtown, it is almost all within a couple blocks of the bus terminal, and there's acceptable bike infrastructure there. eWeb is near some decent bike infrastructure. I'm not aware of any transit there.
Yeah,
just to advocate that people that we be thinking about inviting people there, because it's not like you have a difficult time getting homeowning, car owning retired people down to city council meetings. It's some other people who need a little more encouragement and ease getting to those.
Totally agree. And I will just say that Jameson Oughton, the new general manager at LTD, that was one of his first commitments to Sarah Maderi when she started talking about the eWeb building, is that he would make sure there was a bus stop there. So I think that it could be readily accessible by bus. It's very accessible by bike because it's right on that bike path, and there's all that biking infrastructure that intersects there, and it's walkable. So I think, yes, I totally agree with you.
It's walkable, but from where? I mean,
Well,
there's kind of.
Well, keeping in mind we're building a neighborhood there. So, but it's very walkable to Fifth Street. It's walkable to the center of town. I mean, it takes maybe 10 minutes to get from the eWeb building to the current Mary's building. It's not a long walk, maybe 15 minutes to walk that.
Yeah, I'm not saying like that it's out by LCC, but just that it does not feel like that location currently does not feel like it's downtown.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that psychologically it feels far away. I think over the coming decade, it's going to feel much more connected to downtown. And
not if you can't get mixed development in there.
Well, we're doing so. Yes, we're doing work on 8th, right? We're doing the work. We did the work last year I guess last year we did the work to improve some of the through passageways past the Hilton and the Graduate and the Holt Center. I mean, we're trying to do a lot of things to improve sort of the wayfinding and the paths. I think as we improve 8th Avenue, we'll see a difference when you see the final 5th Avenue go in for this. It'll feel more connected, and there's affordable housing that will be going in that's actually kind of a link between 5th Street Market and where the City Hall will be. So I think over time, it's not going to feel like it's out there on its own because the city's going to build up around it.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you're thinking about this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut in and say that our other speaker has to be somewhere else, and I think Mayor Vinus, you are supposed to be in another meeting.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit and listen to Cindy for a couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna bow out. Thank you.
Yes.
No problem, Mayor.
Cindy,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was great information. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
We appreciate your one-on-one attention.
Grateful to be invited, so thank you.
Yep, thank you for coming, Mayor.
Cindy, go ahead.
You did a great job.
Yes. Yes, yay for our electeds. They do a wonderful job. So thank you. And thank you for approving the budget. That was, yes, there was a lot of moving pieces and a lot of priorities surfaced out of the conversations that were had. So I thought it was a really good process. I mean, I really applaud the process. Cindy, again, with the Office of Equity and Community Engagement, we have really 4 program areas in our office. And I run the neighborhoods program, so neighborhood matching grants, the neighborhood associations. And then we also have our human rights. Dre Charles is our human rights person, provides support to the Human Rights Commission. We have Melissa Carino. She is the multicultural liaison or the multicultural analyst. And currently, while I'm talking about Melissa, I will send you all a survey that I'm hopeful that not only will you all take, but that you will share with everyone on your electronic and even written notifications. We really want the entire community, everybody, to take the multicultural assessment survey. It's really important and will help inform our work in that program area. So please, 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 please take that survey. It won't take an extended amount of time. It's 5 or 10 minutes. So it's pretty easy, but it will provide us some really worthwhile information. And then the 4th person on our team is Lorna Flormo, and she is our language access person. So she's right now doing a lot of work on our on language access, which includes electronic access. So it's our digital access, digital equity access is what she's working on now. So very busy program areas. Our program manager is Fabio Andrade, and he keeps us all in line and on task. He is wonderful. We really appreciate him. A couple things that are coming up for the neighborhood associations. I talked about a little bit at the Neighborhood Leaders Council, which was last night. We've got in the fall, we will be offering a bystander upstander training, and that will be in person. It's a 3-hour training. It's provided by Surge. It's showing up for racial justice. It's Eugene Springfield Surge. And it is pretty intense. It's worthwhile. It's wonderful, pretty intense. And the whole workshop is really around identifying hate and bias incidents, being able to recognize those hate and bias incidences as they come up, and then interrupting those without escalating them. So the workshop is really tailored to, not just identifying, most of us can identify when there's something going on that we aren't keen on. It's disrespectful, it's awful, ugly. But how do we interrupt that in a thoughtful way that doesn't escalate that? So that's really what that training is about. And it is in person. They bring in people to act out the scenarios, so you get some real hands-on experience. So it's a really great training. Highly recommend. It'll be on a Saturday because it is a 3-hour training. Our other training that we will be offering is our belonging training. And I would like to invite Mayor Vinus and Councilor Semple to come also, because I'm not sure if you've all attended the belonging training that we have offered internally. It is so worthwhile. It is so worthwhile. So the belonging training is really about, it's kind of a walkthrough of our history here in Eugene and in Oregon in general. And it helps us really think about the systems that we have in place that favor some in our community and disadvantage others in our community. And they're just things that we don't normally think about. So this workshop really helps us think through all of those and then talk about how we can change those and really create a community where everyone feels like they genuinely belong here. So we're moving towards helping the neighborhood associations update charters so that they have an inclusivity statement, and we're working to help support the neighborhoods with their inclusivity work. So there's more coming on that, but that belonging training, it's a 4-hour training, so we will feed you, I promise. Nobody will go hungry. And it's also much like the bystander upstander training, it's intense. So I let people know that up front. And it's totally worthwhile. We strongly encourage all board members to attend. So anyway, that will
a question for you, Cindy.
Yes.
So where's that training going to be held for the belonging training? Where exactly is that? I'd be more than glad to come to represent our neighborhood association. Where would that be held? That way I can go to the right place.
Sure. Sorry. We will probably hold those trainings in our building. We're in the LCC building right now. So we'll have those trainings likely in that building because there is
the old downtown center across the street from the bus station? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So those things
I should be there.
Yes. Another thing, Neighborhood Leaders Council, they meet on the 4th Tuesday of the month. I strongly encourage a representative from the Downtown Neighborhood Association to attend. Last night's meeting was really all about, and it's not run by the city, it's completely run by the neighborhood leaders. They have their own chairs, they set their own agenda, they do all their own things. And last night's was really about checking in with the different neighborhood associations about the work that they do, what's working really well, what challenges they're facing, and how they can best support one another in doing their work. So I strongly recommend that somebody from DNA come to the Neighborhood Leaders Council meetings. 4th Tuesday, starts at 7 o'clock and goes usually until about 9. So And they just started meeting in person. We were in council's chambers, or not council chambers, is the work session room. We were in the work session room. So we did it virtually and in person. That's a great room, by the way. That worked out really well for us. So thank you for sharing.
I'd be glad to come to that as well.
Yep, you guys.
I can represent.
Perfect. You all decide who you'd like
my
to
association.
Excellent. Let's see what's else on my list. Your neighboring neighborhood association. So Far West Neighbors has been inactive for years. On the 21st of this month, they met, held their elections. They have a full board. The board is active and ready to hit the ground running. So it's wonderful. It's long overdue, and I'm really excited to support this group. So you've got Jefferson West Side, Whitaker Community Council, all right around you. It'd be great to see you all hold an event together or do something fun together. There's just so much going on in the whole area. So just want to let you know that Far West is now up and running.
That's excellent. We definitely need more associations.
Yes, yes.
I'm glad that they're up and running with us.
Perfect. So the budget, you want to know the money? The answer is I don't know. No, that's not. We have worked really, really hard. We scrimped and saved this year in order to prepay for a lot of our work for next year. Actually, it's over the course of the next 2 fiscal years. So we prepaid postage. We put $61,000 in our postage account. So that will carry us through more than a year. And then we have reduced funds, but that should, next 2 years, we don't expect to have any sort of an impact in the support that the neighborhoods are receiving. So that's the really good news. We will likely, for this first half of the fiscal, what are we calling this? Fiscal 2 years?
24, 25, something like that?
Yes.
Biennium.
Biennium.
Biennium, thank you. The biennium budget. So we anticipate for the first year anyway, that we will continue with the same practice that we have done, where the funds are allocated based on address count, and then reallocated 3 times during the year. And that is just while we look at a way, our goal is really to have the support equitably distributed. Every neighborhood association should have the ability to do the same number of events and have the same number of publications and have the same level of support for their neighborhoods. And we still have, while we had Churchill is now active, Far West is now active, we still have a couple of neighborhood associations that have been inactive and continue to be. So I'm working with a group of folks with Train Song to get them activated. West University, we continue to struggle with getting them active. So we're looking at ways to activate that entire university district, and how can we best connect everybody who lives in that the district, really in the complete district. How can we connect them with the resources? So we're looking at that. And then we still have Good Pasture Island neighbors are inactive. So we're working with those neighborhoods to get them active again. And
Can I ask,
looking at ways of having those funds being equitably distributed. So we will be working with or calling on folks, neighborhood leaders, to help us with feedback on what the best possible way we could do that is. Noah, yes. Or Leah, did you have a question first? I'm sorry, you kind of, Noah.
I wanted to ask, you said being allocated based on address count, and then reallocated 3 times a year. What is that data from?
Sure.
It can't be census.
No, we get our address lists from LCOG, from Lane Council of Governments, and they provide us every address that's in the neighborhood association based on the neighborhood boundaries. So that's the number that we go by. And what we do with that, so the first allocation is sent out on usually the first week of July, sent out to everybody, to all the neighborhood associations, so they know what they have to work with, along with a recap of the policies. And then whatever is not spent out of that first allocation gets rolled into the next allocation. So some of the feedback that we received in years past is there are some neighborhood associations that don't utilize all of their funds. And then we also have some neighborhood associations at that time that were inactive, but they still received their allocation. So what happens to those funds? So what we do is we capture all those unused funds and we roll them into the next allocation, and then those get redistributed out to the neighborhood associations. And that second allocation comes in November. And then there's the third allocation in March, where we take, again, from the second allocation, all those unused funds, and we roll them into the third trimester and redistribute them out. Does that make sense?
Yes, I was mostly curious about the address count, but that's answered.
Yep,
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'm glad actually that I'm going to segue a little bit.
Sure.
I have talked to several people in our neighborhood who say they don't get our yellow cards.
Oh.
So I'm curious how we get people on our list, or how do we make sure that that gets addressed, because it's a lot of them. We have a large business population,
right?
A lot of them are businesses, and for instance, my board chair owns Cozy, which is behind Fifth Street Market. She's never gotten a yellow postcard. And I'm just curious, where, is there a way that we can make sure that those address lists are kept up to date, or what can we do with that?
Sure. No, that's a great observation. Great question. So we do get the list from LCOG every 6 months. So it is a current list. Where the gap might be is because we send those out, used to be called bulk rate, but it's standard pre-sorted mail. They are only delivered to places with a mail receptacle. And they're not forwarded. So if the address is forwarded to a PO box or to a corporate office, they get recycled. They don't get forwarded. If there isn't a mail receptacle, in some places, the postal carrier will still walk them into the establishment with the rest of the mail, but not always.
So, yeah, and she wondered if it was her mailman.
Yeah,
it was the problem.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah, because she's one of those places where it gets walked in. So that's interesting. I will let her know, and I will mention that to other people I've talked to.
And if you want to send me her address, I can check it on my list just to make sure.
Okay.
But in the past, what we found is they are on the list, but they may not have a mail receptacle, or they may be forwarded. And if that's the case, they don't get forwarded.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's a great opportunity to get them signed up for your electronic newsletters.
Yes. Which we just started this just a few months ago. So yeah. We were not so good at that. We're trying.
Doing great.
So that leads me to another thing. Just future, and I know this isn't your department, but I get multiple pieces of paper from the planning department for updates from the I don't have a way to redistribute those. I don't have a easy way. I wish that those notices could be sent electronically.
Is that like a land use notice?
Yes. The public hearing notices, all of those. And sometimes I get 2 of them because I'm getting them for DNA and for SMJ. And it's a lot of pieces of paper and a lot of postage. And they sit on my desk.
Right.
Because I don't have an easy way to forward them from everybody. And that's just a bug, in the ear, that it would be nice to be able to opt out of the paper versions.
For some things, like if there's a land use notification or a pre-application meeting, if it's something like that, the code requires that level of notice. So what you might do is discuss it with the board, and maybe there's somebody on the board that has an interest in land use and would rather be the one to receive that information, and then do the research if there's research to be done, or go to those pre-applicant meetings and then report back to the board. I mean, it doesn't have to be you necessarily receiving all of that, but it does need to go to the neighborhood association if it's a pre-application meeting or an applicant.
Yeah, it just I look at it and I'm not sure how, because it's a lot of information to put out.
Yes.
Especially when there's multiple meetings.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I just say, go to the website and check out these hearings.
Yeah.
So anyway, just I'm just thinking about posting.
I hear you. No, I hear you. And it's a lot, and it's can be overwhelming. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and especially for neighborhood associations that change chairs, then there's an address update, and then
right.
If we have an email address that changes with the chair, then that makes a difference. So
right. Yeah.
That keeps that consistency.
What if there's a way we could do both? If we could set it out electronically and meet the code requirement by sending it out on paper as well. Yeah. That's something worth looking at. Yeah.
Just a thought, just something I've been thinking about lately. Any other questions for Cindy before she has to run away?
Tonight, I can think of what she did a great. She did a great job answering questions. Very hard work. I'm glad you got to come to meetings, Cindy. It was a great presentation. We really enjoy you coming to the meetings.
Thank you. I'm happy to come back any old time. So let me know if there's anything you need from me. If there's any way I can support your neighborhood association or the board, let me know. And then try to plan on coming to our trainings that are coming in the fall. And we will probably do another neighborhood summit where the neighborhoods get together and we talk about achievements and we share information, and we could talk about some more of our updates. So
that'd be a
one last
great
question before
opportunity.
you run away. I thought of something.
Yes.
Okay, just really quickly, can you remind me the neighborhood grants, what the limit is?
Sure. Neighborhood matching grants, they're for small projects for up to $5,000.
Okay.
And they would require a match, but that match can be volunteer hours. It can be donations from community partners. Take a look at those. Take a look at the guidelines. The guidelines, I mean, it's this fiscal year's guidelines that are posted, but they won't change substantially. So.
Okay, great.
I would be glad to come to those trainings. Just let me know what time, Cindy, and I'll.
Yeah, we're not sure yet.
Down there.
Yeah, we're not sure yet. It'll be September or October, so we're looking at the fall. After school is back in session.
All right, so just let me know what days
I will.
I'll be there. So just email me, and then we'll go back and forth. So I definitely would like to. I would like to come. So just I'll keep in contact with you. You can let me know, and I'll be definitely be there to represent my board.
Excellent.
Sounds fantastic. Well, I know you have another meeting, so I won't keep you anymore.
Leah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And Councilor, sorry to interrupt you and jump in front of you.
No, I have nothing to say. I'm just on the steering committee listening to everything. I'm not here officially.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
All right. Woohoo. Yay. Thank you, Michael, for those great speakers. We appreciate that. I want to talk about our July meeting. I have reached out to World Pies and asked them if they would be okay if we invaded them for an evening in July. And they are okay with that. I am kind of feeling like maybe we need this to be a little bit more of a social and less like don't necessarily need speakers or anything, but make it more of a neighborhood social. Come meet your board and your rest of your neighbors. They were asking me some questions about, do we want the stage? Do we want to pre-order some food or things like that? And I think it needs to be a no host shindig. And we don't necessarily need the stage. But that is my feeling. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I get one thought, Mr. Chairman. Of the stage part, so what we want to get. That's the speeches part. Our speeches like represent our boards like me, you,
I don't want to give any speeches.
a formal introductions of everybody. That's what I was talking about.
We'll wear name tags. No formal speeches necessary.
Okay, name tags. Okay, I vote for that.
I will bring name tags.
Yes, I'll be there.
So are you thinking of, because we usually have the meetings like at 6. Oh, sorry, Tim, I didn't raise my hand. Sorry, okay.
You beat me to it, go for it.
Okay. So an idea is to maybe do like the 6 o'clock meeting, but say, to be there like as early as 5 to get your pizza and, so then you could kind of look at people, hey, are you here for that? So that could be a social time. And then if people show up at 6 and get pizza, it's fine, but maybe have a little pre-part where people can get there and mingle. Just a thought.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so they said they would be willing to reserve some tables for us if we told them about, hey, set up a table of 10 or 20, in this area for us. And that way we, can put a sign that says, welcome neighborhood association. And Tim.
That was primarily my question is do you envision like a big circle where we all kind of like, hi, my name is blank and I'm, here for the meeting. So it sounds like that's already kind of thought through. I'm also trying to avoid some never mind. But yeah, trying to avoid the word alcoholic, but yeah, that was kind of my question. And then so the vision is just that it is just coming together, everyone introducing themselves, for newer people their chance to kind of engage that's like not on a digital platform. Yeah, so it's just a coming together and kind of a lack of an agenda. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, that's
yes,
kind
Tim.
of my
Yeah, that's correct, Tim.
Emily.
I think this is an excellent idea. I know JWN has a picnic in the park, either Monroe or Charlton every summer. They're a much bigger, more active organization. So they managed to get food coming. It's not in a restaurant, and the church brings tables and chairs, but it's not a formal get up and talk to everybody. It's a lot of people come, over 100 people, I would say. Sometimes there's music, but again, it's much bigger. Fan also usually has a picnic, and it's much more of a to-do, but that's also a very big and active neighborhood, and they usually have it up at Washington Park with tabling, and I think it's bring your own food. I haven't been there for a couple of years, but anyway, I think it's a really good idea, even if we don't attract a lot of people, to have, hey, the pandemic's over, we're neighbors, we want to work together, please come and have a social event downtown. Woohoo! I think that would, I hope we can get some people to come, but I think it would be really beneficial because we are kind of small.
I think it's a great idea, Councilor Emily.
So while Cindy was talking, she was talking about getting to know our neighboring neighbors. So I was thinking we could reach out to Whitaker and the new neighborhood. I didn't quite understand where she was talking about with that one, but
I think.
did you
Far
catch
West
that,
is-
Emily?
It's far west,
Far
and I think
West is like towards Garfield, City View, and 18th, up in that area.
Oh, okay.
So
All right. All right.
it's west of Ward 1, which ends at City View, and around 18th, I think. And they've been inactive forever and have had a really hard time getting it reorganized. It's taken them a year, not their fault. And so I'm really excited that they're going to be on board. I have nothing against inviting other neighborhoods, but I would really love to see if we can somehow get some downtown people, maybe even some business owners might
Yep.
want to stop in. We used to have a bigger group before pandemonium, so maybe we can figure out some of those.
Well, and I was thinking if we bill it as a social, then people won't be like, oh, I'm not going to go and be bored. So that's kind of what my thought is, and maybe we can bring in a few more people. And I really specifically was thinking of the board members of the other, not necessarily the whole.
That's great to have, some invitations, and they could possibly give us some hints.
Yes.
or money. Pass a hat around. Get some cash.
Far West won't have any hints, but
Right.
Whitaker and Fan and JWN are very active.
Yeah, Whitaker, I'm a little jealous of, actually. Whitaker's going gangbusters. All right, so I can pull that together for the July meeting. I'll go back to World Pies and tell them we're on, and I'll put the card out and put out some reminders through our email list. September, I think, is going to be centered around the Riverfront project. There's a couple more notification things coming through with the Riverfront project, so I think we're going to see them.
Can I say something real quick about the July one?
Yeah.
Well, it's literally a block from me, World Pies.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you could like accidentally get people there that are just live in the neighborhood. So if there's a way that we could, how they have the concert flyers, if maybe a couple weeks before, get a flyer to put up on there so that people that go there regularly that actually live in the neighborhood, it might draw them to it, especially if they already go there and eat.
Yep.
Just a thought. And I'm happy to put stuff down there or go around in neighborhoods. I mean, I'm literally right down the street. So if you need me to bring some stuff, I'd be happy to do it.
Great.
Yeah, if you can bring some steps, Suzanne, that'd be great. I'll try to make posters or whatever. If I can get posters, I'll try to make posters and stick them around somewhere.
I can make the poster and I'll send it to everybody and we can go from there.
Awesome.
All
I
right,
have a
sounds good,
printer
Mr.
and
Chairman.
staple guns. Woohoo!
Woo! Very important pieces of equipment.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have anything planned for November, but the year is still young, maybe. And that's all I have. Anybody have anything else for the good of the order? Noah.
How do we get Broadway opened up again? When I moved to the city 3 years ago, they had pedestrian and cyclists only on Broadway between Olive and I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 blocks. And it was really beautiful. And I have to imagine that the businesses there made a lot of money. And I contacted the city has some kind of program for doing that on streets periodically, but I think this may have been a pandemic thing. I contacted them and they said, "No, we don't have any plans for that." And they didn't seem engaged. Does anyone here know if there's a way of kind of trying to get that started up again?
They talked about it last year pretty extensively. Some people were really happy about it, others weren't. What it is continuing is letting people use sidewalks and sometimes the parking spaces to make some table area. but not actually, it was one block, not actually closing the block to cars. It
Yeah,
was
that's the thing that
delightful.
makes it
It
work.
was wonderful having it, but it was directly because of the pandemic for a way to have the restaurants have clients because they could go outside. It was awesome, but not everybody was happy about it, and also it cost money.
Yeah, it all comes down to money.
So-
Emily, exactly.
This was an administrative decision, not a
Right.
council decision, right?
No,
So
council had nothing to do with this. This is downtown department. I mean,
So
well,
what-
I talked to Eric, who's the downtown manager for this sort of thing. We meet almost every week. So I knew about it, but I wasn't a person who could change it.
So who do we hassle?
I don't think you'll get anywhere with it.
You can talk to Eric Brown, but again,
And he's on sabbatical till the middle of September. So, I mean, you can't do anything for this summer. It's too late. You could petition for it for next summer. But if it's costing the city money, you don't have it.
Yeah, it's like I thought they were doing the same thing because I saw a news thing about the having eating outside, and I thought that meant they were coming back. And I live on Broadway. I kept waiting for it to close, and it's kind of difficult because it's like the tables come out just. It's almost like they're in the street and then they stop. It's like it wouldn't take much more to just be like put a stop sign on each end and just. I don't know. I thought that the businesses were getting some money. So I don't know how much it would cost the city if you just said, hey, we're going to close off the block. And if you want to use that and have tables out there, I don't know. Seems like businesses would want to do that. We'll see.
so Emily, what exactly was the cost to the city?
And I do not know what the cost was. Eric will be back in the middle of September, and I'm happy at that point to go in depth with it and report back. I don't have, well, you know, he told me about it, the pluses and the minuses, and some people are happy, some people aren't. I don't know what the cost is. You're right, it can't be too enormous. The restaurants were pretty happy about it. Lazar was distraught. It really cut into his business because no one could drive by. So not everybody was happy.
Yeah, well, and they fought so hard to
It is kind of
get
preposterous for
Broadway
anyone
open
to
to
say, oh,
car traffic.
my business suffered a downturn during the pandemic. I blame the street closure. So
I have a suggestion and then also kind of another potential topic for November. I think a non-city way, if you want to go grassroots, and sorry, Councilor Semple.
No, fine. I'm all about grassroots. Just don't tell anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
that's well known.
I think a way to go about that maybe even might be to talking to the business owners directly and then creating some kind of coalition or some kind of group conversation where the business owners that are approving of some kind of Broadway closure would, you know, one voice
is an excellent idea because they are the ones who, I mean, we're all affected. We want to go down there and eat, but they're the ones who have to put it on. They're the ones who know whether or not it brought them enough extra business, and they've had last summer and this summer and the 2 summers before, so they can compare. But yeah, if we really want to bring it back, and I feel the passion, getting the business owners to want to do it would be fantastic. And in September, I can get you connected to all the information.
So another person you could reach out to, Noah, is the director of Downtown Inc. And her name is escaping me at the moment. She is brand new. But she's very excited about working with downtown and getting things going. I've met with her a couple of times, So she may be somebody to talk to. She could put you in touch with some of the people that you would need to talk to. The other one is DEM, Downtown Eugene Merchants Association, which is another organization that they're more volunteer. They don't have a director, but that would be somebody else that you could reach out to in the meantime. And that would be directly businesses affected by it. And that might be DEM and DEI holds regular meetings. So
Okay.
all right, Tim, you said you had a possible November topic.
I do. Really quick. So I looked ahead. The meeting would fall the day before Thanksgiving. So for those that celebrate, might want to move either forward or backwards.
We move it the week before.
Perfect. I was also going to say, and I don't know how you feel about this, but election day would be the 7th. And if the signatures are gathered, our current House District elected official Paul Holvey will be on the ballot, and there would have been a vote. And so I don't know how you feel about that, but maybe hearing from him, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there of like a potential topic, or at least a speaker of some kind.
I think that's a great idea, Tim. That's a huge idea.
So
we need to bring him before us.
If he loses, he might be less willing to talk. But
right. Another person that we should probably have invite at some point is our new city councilor.
Councilor Leach.
Yes. And in our area, which she has not attended one of our meetings.
Yeah, Ward 7, it butts up to me. So she's the other main counselor for downtown. And it would be great to reach out to her.
Yeah.
Or I'll definitely reach out to her by email.
Yeah, so both of those elections will be decided that month.
Are they? I have not figured out if the county and city have figured out Councilor Leach's election scheduling. It's very confusing.
My understanding is, although originally I thought it was a simple majority, my understanding is that you did have to get more than 50%, and Lindsay needed like another 60 votes to do that. So although Lane County wasn't thinking we were going to have a runoff, we do have to have one. So yeah, more campaigning. The city has to pay for another election. You know, both candidates are going to have to raise a bucket load of money. Just think what we could have done with that $100,000. But anyway, that's my understanding of what's going to happen.
Yeah, so that was the last thing I heard too, is there's going to be a runoff in November. So
I heard a weird rumor about, I think August, but I think that that's wrong. But anyway, I think, I mean, beyond the specifics of that, I think the 7th is election day, which means that the 15th, if we push it back, if we push back the DNA meeting, would be almost a calendar week later. And so I don't know how you feel about having candidates who may or may not have won their election to be as speakers. And I'm pretty sure they would not be interested in speaking if they lost. But I mean, hey, it's a fun topic, I think, for me and me.
All right, I get it. I got an idea for you, Tim. I think there's a great idea. I support that. We definitely need to reach out to candidates like Paul Harvey or for our city councilors to like Salinka or Jennifer Ye, or we need to bring candidates before us so we can keep updated with them.
Jennifer's not on the board.
Oh, Jennifer, yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer's not our ward. So I can definitely put them on our mailing list and they can get our stuff, and then make them aware that we will be open to them coming on November 15th, and we'll see what happens.
It would be nice to invite Lindsay, Alan too, he's part of downtown. I don't know exactly where they cross. To the September meeting, I was invited to FAN and the Southwest Hills and JWN. When I was a new counselor, and not for the forums for running, but she'll still be active, whether she wins or loses in November. In September, she will be the current counselor. And it might not have occurred to me to go to those things, but the invitation really facilitated that. And, she doesn't have to come give a speech, just, hey, we realize that we overlap. We'd love to meet you and come on over. And then when I would do that, usually at, the very beginning, they'd say, hey, Counselor Semple, you want to, say something for 2 minutes.
Yep. No, and like I said, I've been kind of holding off on Emily's or Lindsay's invitation just to see where that kind of went, but it's long enough now that I think we can add her to our list and see if she would be happy to come.
Let's add her to our list.
I think that is a really good plan for the rest of our year. And I will, after I am out of the summer camp haze for the next week or so, I will put together a flyer for our social and our card. And we will get our social on the calendar. So
that'd be great. I'll
Michael
definitely be
made me
there.
aware I need to reach out to Cindy and tell her that our meetings are at 6:30 on the website instead of 6. So I need to make her aware of that. So when I send my
I saw that on the website.
Yeah. So when I send the postcard, I will emphasize that needs to be changed.
All right.
Okay. I will forward the multicultural survey if you guys haven't already seen it. When I find it, I will forward that to everybody. Anything else?
Not that I can think of, Chairman. I'll definitely be at the social.
Okay, great.
I'll be there.
Okay, awesome. You guys have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. I'm gonna go.
All right, so it's gonna be at the same time.
My mother-in-law is cooking fish.
6 p.m. at World Pies, correct? Or we going earlier?
If you want to show up earlier, that is entirely wonderful. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good
We'll see
night.
you at World Pies.
Thank you all.
Bye.
We'll see you at
Good
World
night.
Pies.
Yep.